Hello everyone. Have you ever wondered why water that looks perfectly clear can still make you seriously ill? The truth is that safe drinking water does not come from a single step. It comes from a series of protective layers working together. And today we are going to explore the science of household water purification and how each barrier compensates for the weakness of the one before it. No single method of water treatment is completely foolproof. True water security depends on a sequential multi barrier strategy that combines physical pre treatment, active inactivation or filtration, and safe storage so that each stage covers the gaps left by the previous one. The first stage is physical pre treatment through sieving and sedimentation. This step removes heavy debris so that the treatments which follow can actually work properly. Sieving involves passing water through a tightly woven cloth which physically screens out larger suspended particles, debris, and even parasite carrying vectors such as zooplankton that harbor Vibrio cholerae. Sedimentation, on the other hand, involves allowing water to stand undisturbed for 24 to 48 hours, which dramatically reduces turbidity as particles settle to the bottom. This natural process can be accelerated using biological coagulants such as crushed Moringa oleifera or drumstick tree seeds, which bind to the suspended particles and help them settle faster. Next, we move to thermal inactivation, which is considered the benchmark of sterilization. Boiling water to a rolling boil for a sustained 10 to 20 minutes kills all bacteria, spores, cysts, and ova. Even heating water to 55 degrees Celsius for several hours or pasteurizing it at 60 degrees for 10 minutes dramatically reduces non-spore forming pathogens including Cryptosporidium, Giardia, and Entamoeba. Boiling also drives off carbon dioxide gas and precipitates calcium carbonate, which removes temporary hardness from the water. However, there is an important vulnerability here. Boiling yields sterilized water but offers zero residual protection, which means to prevent immediate recontamination, the water must be stored in the exact container in which it was boiled. Another natural method is SODIS, which synergizes ultraviolet A radiation with solar heat. The process begins with preparation and aeration, where clear water with turbidity below 30 NTU is filled into a transparent, uncolored, label-free PET bottle of 1 to 2 liters and shaken vigorously to aerate it. Next comes exposure placement, where the bottle is laid flat on a heat-absorbing dark surface or corrugated metal. Then comes the cloud cover decision. If the sun is bright, 6 hours of continuous exposure is enough. But if it is up to 50% cloudy, the bottle needs 2 consecutive days of exposure. Determining whether the water has reached a sufficient temperature of 55 degrees Celsius can be done using a low-cost, reusable pasteurization indicator based on the melting point of soya bean wax. Chlorination brings something the other methods lack, and that is the power of residual protection. The golden rule here is to ensure a free residual chlorine level of 0.5 milligrams per liter at the end of a 1 hour contact period, and this requires water that is not turbid. While boiling or UV treated water loses its protection over time, chlorinated water maintains sustained residual protection against recontamination. There are several chlorine sources available. Bleaching powder contains 33% available chlorine but is unstable and loses strength when exposed to air and light, unless it is mixed with excess lime to form stabilized bleach. A chlorine solution of 5% strength can be created by mixing 4 kilograms of bleaching powder at 25% strength into 20 liters of water. High test hypochlorite is a highly stable calcium compound containing 60 to 70% available chlorine. National Environmental Engineering Research Institute (NEERI), Nagpur MEERI, tablets offer an advanced formulation that is 15 times more potent than standard halazone, where a single 0.5 gram tablet can disinfect 20 liters of water. For continuous chlorination of well water, the NEET double pot method provides a steady, constant dosage without the risk of over-chlorination. This system uses an outer pot measuring 30 centimeters in height and 25 centimeters in diameter. Inside sits an inner pot containing the chemical matrix, a moistened mixture of 1 kilogram of bleaching powder and 2 kilograms of coarse sand with a 2 millimeter diameter filled to 3 centimeters below the inner hole. The inner pot has a 1 centimeter diameter hole placed in its upper portion near the rim, while the outer pot has a 1 centimeter diameter hole placed exactly 4 centimeters above the bottom. Both the mouths of the outer and inner pots are sealed with polyethylene foil, allowing chlorine to steadily diffuse into the surrounding well water. There are also alternative chemical agents used in specific situations. Iodine is reserved for emergency use only at a dosage of 2 drops of a 2% ethanol solution per 1 liter of clear water, with a contact time of 20 to 30 minutes. Its advantage is that it persists longer than chlorine, remains active over a wider pH range, and does not react with ammonia. However, it is highly limited by cost and comes with significant physiological drawbacks since it can disrupt thyroid activity. Potassium permanganate, on the other hand, is now deprecated. Although it is a powerful oxidizing agent that kills cholera vibrios, it is ineffective against most other pathogens and unacceptably alters the color, smell, and taste of the water supply. So it is no longer recommended. Moving to physical filtration, porous ceramic media works through oligodynamic action. Water filters from the exterior to the interior of a hollow candle made of specific micron or submicron porous materials. The Pasteur Chamberlain filter uses unglazed porcelain, while the Birkefeld filter uses kieselguhr, also known as infusorial earth. In advanced versions like the Katadyn filter, the filter surface is coated with a silver catalyst, and silver ions are liberated to neutralize bacteria on contact through oligodynamic action, while also preventing biofilm formation. These filters must be scrubbed with a hard brush under running water and boiled weekly to prevent clogging. Their crucial limitation is that while they effectively remove bacteria, giardia, and cryptosporidium at more than 99.9% efficiency, their fine pores do not filter out viruses without specialized ultrafiltration. Ultraviolet irradiation offers photonic inactivation using a quartz mercury vapor arc lamp that emits radiation at exactly 254 nanometers. The water layer being treated must be no more than 120 millimeters thick. This method achieves more than 99.9% inactivation of chlorine-resistant protozoans like Cryptosporidium parvum, oocysts, and Giardia lamblia cysts. It introduces no foreign matter and causes zero alteration to taste, odor, or color, and overexposure is completely harmless. However, the catch is that it requires water entirely free of turbidity and colloidal matter. The apparatus is expensive. It lacks a rapid field test for efficiency and it provides no residual effect. At the more advanced end, we have multi-stage reverse osmosis, which achieves molecular separation. In natural osmosis, a solvent like water naturally flows across a membrane to dilute a higher concentration solution and equalize osmotic pressure. Reverse osmosis works in the opposite direction, using high mechanical pressure to overcome osmotic pressure and force pure solvent through the membrane. This system works in 3 stages. First, the clarity cartridge physically removes dust, mud, and sand, acting as a pre-filtration stage using depth filters to trap suspended particulates and turbidity, protecting the subsequent membranes. Second, the RO cartridge eliminates dissolved solids, temporary and permanent hardness, microbes, and heavy metals like arsenic, lead, and mercury, using a semi-permeable membrane that acts as a molecular sieve and rejects up to 99% of dissolved contaminants. Third, the system output generates chemically and microbiologically potable water, but it inherently creates a secondary stream of highly concentrated wastewater, producing high purity drinking water while discharging brine containing concentrated rejected impurities. Finally, we arrive at the most overlooked yet critical stage, safe storage, which preserves purity through the final barrier. The mere storage rule states that disinfected water must be kept in the exact clean, covered containers in which it was treated, or transferred to specialized vessels, and dipping a cup or hand directly into an open bucket defeats the entire purpose of treatment. Instead, design for dispensation mandates a closed system utilizing a narrow opening, a tap, or a dedicated pouring spigot, such as a jerry can with a tap, so that water can be poured out without any hand contact. The greatest threat to purified water is actually the human hand, and preventing cups, hands, and environmental exposure guarantees the integrity of the entire treatment chain. To bring all of this together, the Purification Master Matrix compares every method we have discussed. Sieving and sedimentation is a low complexity physical method but only removes large debris and offers no residual protection. Boiling is highly effective against bacteria, viruses, and protozoa but is energy intensive and alters taste, again with no residual protection. SODIS is effective against bacteria and viruses, moderately effective against protozoa, but requires sunlight and clear water. Chlorination is highly effective against bacteria and viruses, offers the unique advantage of residual protection at 0.5 mg per liter, but is largely ineffective against cryptosporidium. Ceramic filters are highly effective against bacteria and protozoa, but weak against viruses, and they need regular scrubbing. UV lamps are highly effective against all three pathogen types but are expensive and require clear water. And reverse osmosis is highly effective against all three as well, though it creates a wastewater stream as its key drawback. So, as we have seen, safe drinking water is never the result of one single miracle solution. It is the layered outcome of pre-treatment, active disinfection, and safe storage working hand in hand, each one covering for the vulnerabilities of the others. Hope you have understood about multi-barrier water purification. If you found this video useful, please share with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.